Welcome to the Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Series. Today, motorcycle racing, the world's best motorcycle racers, taking on the deep sand and the forests of Florida. Who are the riders? Well, 1 week ago in Texas, Finland's Juha Salminen and Australia's Glenn Kearney came and upset America's best in Texas. Today, it's Florida. Can the Americans fight back? Jason Wygant here and Rodney Tomlin in the pits will bring you all the action from the Orange Crush GNCC. FMF throttle head on across the Kawasaki team. Alright, talk to us now. We talked about experience. We're here with John Penton, the innovator, the inventor. You started cross-country racing basically in the United States. You imported the KTM motorcycle when no one had motorcycles like it ridden on trails, and now you're here all these years later in Florida.
Well, I'm really excited, especially pretty close to my 80th birthday, and I'm really excited because we started this thing down here at Daytona in '74. Dick Van and a bunch of us boys and the AMA got in trouble with the AMA, but I'm really excited to see what it's turned into and what the Coombs has brought to us.
And look at how far along KTM has come in their time too.
Yeah, that's really a bonus for me, and the development of the equipment is really exciting for me too. That's how this thing has come about.
Enjoy your afternoon, John.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, we have great expectations for our Kawasaki riders in this series. We've already had some strong finishes at the first round in Texas with Chuck Woodford's 4th place and Steve Hatch's 5th place. The guys are running strong. They're hungry. They want the series, and they want to see a championship under the Kawasaki belt.
All right, the lights are on. Daylight is gone, but that does not mean the racing is over. GNCC racers never stop racing. So we bring in the Parts Limited Adult Mini Cycle Challenge, which means we have adults riding kids' bikes and racing competitively against each other, because that's the way GNCC people are. Let's check out some of the highlights from the Orange Crush here in Florida.
Oh, well, you know, it's the first week in March. What else you do? You come down to Daytona and you race. I come down, I race everything I can get my hands on. And this time, of course, I'm down here for Moose. We're a big sponsor of the GNCC series, and as part of that, I get to ride, and my good friend Guy Cooper, he hooked me up with one of these Extremes. It was really fun, really fun. Good little course. You know, it's a fun thing to do in the evening.
Bike Week's all about riding. I brought down my street bike. We're going to do a bunch of street riding, catch a lot of riding. It's just racing and riding, whole week.
Started doing it a few years ago, and it's really big with the Outdoor Motocross National Series, and it's even spawned into the indoor series where companies like Minimoto, one of the magazines, has a big race out in Las Vegas. But when we come out here to the natural settings of a GNCC, you have log obstacles, sand track obstacles. The fans are lined right up against the fence, so you kind of hear them if you have a mistake, or if you do something well, they're cheering you on. It's really a good time. It's hard for the guys in the motorcycle industry who are working all these events to get out and participate in the riding, and that's what really got us here in the first place. But with the mini bikes, it's kind of after all of our work's done, and we can get right into the thick of things and get out here and bang bars with our buddies and have a great evening. come to a lot of these GNCCs and we have these parts and limited events, and a couple years ago at Crawfordsville, Indiana, we had one of these mini bike GNCC type of events, and it really, really went well. The folks coming out to these races like to camp. A lot of the top riders come out here with their families, and they kind of want to do something in the evening rather than hang around and think about the daunting task to ride 3 hours tomorrow. So it gives them a chance to come out, blow off a little steam, get the camaraderie going. And we've been bouncing around the country. We've done it a few other places. I think the GNCC really lends itself well to mini bike racing, and hopefully if things go well, you'll see us at a few more events this year.
It takes 3 days to drive here for this, so it was almost worth it. I don't know, you know, it's kind of cool that they threw the logs in. That kind of made it like a little mini GNCC, and just the sand was kind of treacherous on mini bikes. It was a blast.
Logs are good. We went on the outside a few laps and they filled it up higher and higher with water, so I had to go back to climbing over the logs again.
They were hard and slippery at times, and if you didn't hit them right, you'd either like wash out or sometimes your engine would hit, and as you saw, the outside wasn't the best line either.
That was a built-in obstacle that got it changed as the course went on. But I guess that's a lot like the GNCC, you know, every lap changes up.
You know, I think this was the first ever pit bike race that actually been tired like a big bike race.
I'm just going to ride everything. So I had a really trick bike that I got, and it was all prototype parts, and I blew it up like on the 3rd lap of practice. So luckily the Mini Moto magazine guys had a spare bike, so they loaned it to me, and now I'm racing it. So it was a blast.
First moto, I just couldn't seem to find my groove. In the second moto, right about the first turn, Guy Cooper and I and a couple other guys came together, and I ended up having a terrible day. I got to hand out. I passed Vitus one time. He battled with the king. He had a computer bike, but I managed to use smooth lines and finesse and slide right by him.
Better than that, I got hit with some hand guards in my kidney, so now I have a built-in excuse for tomorrow if I don't want to go a whole distance. I had one good moto and it's a little bit other thrashing, and got kind of worked over here in the last moto, but overall I had a lot of fun.
We move over to our second place overall rider in the morning. This guy can do it all. He can rally, he can motocross, and he can GNCC. Jimmy Lewis, good job today.
Thanks. It was a lot more than I expected. Let's put it that way.
What was it? The competition, the track, combination of all. What didn't you expect?
I don't know. I expected pretty much everything. It just kind of, when you're out there getting into it, it was kind of progressively got ugly. But it was really fun the first lap racing with Kevin Foley. Unfortunately, he ran out of gas. I was sitting there thinking, here's two guys with all kinds of national championships that don't matter to nobody but themselves, and we're having a great battle. And then when it started getting rough, he started pulling away, and then I just started riding my own pace. Then Jan went by me on the back fender like 4 laps in, and it was like completely demoralizing. I'm thinking, how does he do that?
You've been through a lot, though. How does GNCC stack up? I know it's not your first, probably won't be your last. How does it stack up to some of the racing you've done?
Especially the ones in Florida are pretty brutal. I mean, the guys, especially the guys that are doing the 3-hour race, those guys are fit, and it's just another form of racing. Everything has its idiosyncrasies, and this one for sure. You got to be tough in the sand and just kind of learn how to pace yourself. There's all kinds of stuff, though. I just kind of out here, I like doing it all just because it gives me a better perspective on what a bike's supposed to do. So when we test the bikes for the magazine, and that's what I'm riding, is one of our test bikes right now, and just kind of giving it a ring and seeing what it does. So this is a great place to do it. You couldn't put it through any more of a tough test.
Jimmy, Special guest stars all over the place. Billy Morse, guitars for the band Warren, is here. And Racing 200C, how'd you do?
4th place today. It was awesome. GNCC racing's amazing. I had a great time out there. A little out of shape because I live in Cleveland. I haven't ridden since December, but the hands are blistered, but it's a good pain. I feel great.
You know to play your instrument, see with the blisters on your hand?
I got a gig on Saturday. I'll make it back. I'll play on Saturday. Not a problem.
All right. Billy Morse, Warren, running GNCC. Right on.
It's a pleasure to be here and to be a part of this series. Yeah, we do have a lot of success, represented here with seven-time ATV national champion Barry Hawk. Of course, he's also the 2003 bike champion, and his teammate Jason Raines, who's a 2-time Hare Scrambles champion and runner-up 2 years ago. It puts us in a good light for this year's season. We're hoping that we can come away with a 1-2 finish if things go well.
Well, if you ever wonder what our riders are faced with while out on the trail here at a GNCC, courtesy of SCOTT Goggles and the SCOTT Goggles helmet cam, we're going to find out. This footage taken from an early morning race in our novice class, but as you can see, exactly what the riders are faced with, lots of loose sand and some elevation change. But believe it or not, that's the only elevation change on this racetrack, and it is man-made as we go through the 6.5 mile marker called Twin Peaks. There's the first of 2 of those Twin Peaks. Over the second, through a mud hole, and up that wall goes the SCOTT Goggles helmet cam rider. And, of course, the rider could have either gone left there or straight. Left would have taken a little more time but a little safer, or he could have gone straight to try to save some time, and that's exactly what he did, as he looks like he got up on some several riders there and is trying to get through some lap traffic already. And this is exactly what our pro riders are going to be faced with later today whenever they make their way around the race course for their pro race this afternoon. And speaking of pro races, down on the starting line now, Juha Salminen, our winner, Michael Lafferty's third place finisher, the number 20 machine, Barry Hawk, the number 3 machine, actually DNF'd our opener down in Texas, but could be a force to be reckoned with here in Florida. The number 2 of Jason Raines finished a very respectable 10th place position, and there's your second place finisher from the opener, Glenn Kearney, aboard the 114. As we get set to go here in Florida, the Orange Crush GNCC is underway, and who's going to grab the early lead? It's the 103 of Jimmy Jarrett from Beloit, Ohio, on board the Suzuki. He's got company back there. It looks like Edmondson. Cole Calkins also back there knocking on the door as well. And oh my, looks like Scott Summers is going to be caught up with one of our local Florida pros there, and it's going to take him out of the hunt early on. Mile marker number 2 now, and Jimmy Jarrett and Edmondson still hold on to first and second aboard the 103 and the 118. Jason Raines running in the number 3 spot, Hawk back in the number 4 spot aboard that number 3 machine, and this track is getting rough, rutted, and whooped out, and that's what a lot of our riders were expecting to see in today's race. And of course we had an opportunity to talk with Freddie Andrews today, who said that rough conditions are really something that he kind of likes.
It's as rough can get. I've been here for a while, so I've been doing my homework, so I want it to be rough, and we'll see who the strongest man is.
The first race ever that Fred Andrews raced, a GNCC race rather, was in 1993 here in Florida, and believe it or not, he won, and he won the championship that year as well. And speaking of winning, Michael Lafferty, who had a rough 2004 season, but has opened up the 2005 season as one of the major contenders for a championship. We had a chance to talk with Mike earlier about today's race.
It's going to be demanding. It's going to be real tough. So it's going to be, you have to be smart and really pay attention. I think, it's going to be survival of the fittest towards the end. It's going to be real demanding. And I think that last hour, every race is like that. The last hour proves to be the race. But here, it's going to be whoever can withstand the most, torture on your body, because it's going to work on you quite a bit throughout the day.
Well, it looks like these riders know what they're in store for. They have been here to Florida before, as some jockeying for position has changed our front riders. It looks like Michael Lafferty may now hold on to the lead, but for how long, we don't know. Here comes the 124 of Shane Watts, a 2000 GNCC champion. Not been doing so well over the course of the last few years, but Wattsy does have some glimmerings of brightness occasionally. We'll see if he maybe can do something here in the sands of Florida. There goes Chuck Woodford, also a top-notch Kawasaki rider. Cole Calkins on the FMFthrottlehead.com Team Green Kawasaki team with Steve Hatch and the folks. And, of course, here at mile marker number 7, you can see that still in lap number 1, our riders are pretty tight together. This is the freight train effect that we see a lot of times with a lot of our GNCCs. The riders just pretty much run through the track, try to feel things out to see how things are going. And then after lap number 1, they kick it up, whip it up, and there they go. Things really start to change throughout the course of later on in the race. And looking back up front, there's Juha Salminen. Salminen has taken over the lead now. It looks like away from Lafferty and Doug Henry. The 115, as we see 115 now in second. Lafferty back in third. What changes are taking place here on lap number 1? Our team spotlight this week on FMFthrottlehead.com Team Green Kawasaki. And with me right now is team manager John Adams. John, you got a really strong team here and in a big series that you guys are trying to, win a number 1 plate in.
Yeah, we'd like to get a number 1 plate, definitely get a bunch of podiums. We're pretty happy to be just involved in the GNCC series. It's the most prestigious off-road series there is in this country, and it's really important to Kawasaki, and of course really important to us to show well while we're here.
And you've got a really strong team too.
Yeah, we've got Steve Hatch, who everybody knows is one of the best off-road riders, one of the most popular guys out there. He's really strong this year. He's healthy again. Really likes the bike. We've got a little better bike than we had last year. Cole Calkins finished 9th in the series last year on a 250F. He's riding the 2-stroke this year at most of the events, so he's kind of adjusting, but again, the bike's really good, so we look for good things from him. Josh McLeavy finished the year strong last year. He started showing some really good results. Unfortunately, he's hurt right now. He got some stitches in his arm during a testing accident a few days ago, so he's not going to race today. But his consistency level should go up this year and take where he left off last year.
Checking back on the racetrack, 10.5 mile marker. That looks like Glenn Kearney, second place finisher at round number 1, about 8th place right now, back out front to the Yamaha spectator area. This is the Yamaha Gator Pit, and it looks like Juha Salminen will take his time through the... Whoa, look at this! The 118 of Doug Henry triples up, and following suit behind him, it's third place. Lafferty has to double up. Barry Hawk cannot believe his eyes as those guys really attacked those logs, the Gator Pit, here at the Orange Crush GNCC. There's Wattsy. Ooh, he comes up a little short, clipped that second log and almost went down, but will hold on to a number 5 spot, dropping off to 6th place now after an early second place ride, the number 2 of Jason Raines. There's Kearney. He gets big air. Kearney going for it now as he gets the triple as well. As we check back with some more of our pro riders, it doesn't look like they're all going to go for the triple, but some of the hungry ones do. There goes the double. Oh, Brian Garahan doubles up and over the bars. He was closed in on teammate Fast Freddie Andrews. Andrews was just picking his way through that section of the race course, but here comes Garahan, hot on the throttle, and he clipped that second jump, goes clear over the handlebars, and slows his progress way down. Back out front now as we check in with Juha Salminen. Doug Henry, the biggest surprise of the day, in that number 2 spot here at the 11 mile marker as we're approaching the end of lap number 1. It is still Lafferty and the boys trying to chase down, of course, the number 111 of Juha Salminen and the 115 of Doug Henry. Shane Watts running a very strong top 5 position right now, and that's someplace we haven't seen Shane early in the race in quite some time. More riders checking in. Robbie Jinks, aboard the number 10, has also had a pretty good season so far at the first round of GNCC racing. A little far back in the top 10 right now, but still a top 10 rider. There's Fast Freddie Andrews. He seems to be fading here in lap number 1. As we complete lap number 1 now, our leaders coming through the checkpoint barrel. It's going to break down like this. The number 111 of Juha Salminen Winner of the first race in first, the 118 of Doug Henry from Connecticut, a 3-time national motocross champion and one-day GNCC racer in that number 2 spot. You got to wonder, though, can Henry hang on here to Sands of Florida? He's got a major pace set early on. U-Haul done proved himself in Texas that he can set a pace fast early on and run the entire pace the entire race. Can the 115 of Doug Henry do the same? If I was a betting man, I would say no, but you can never count out anybody like Doug Henry. They can always pull one out of their sleeve anywhere. A super moto rider and a super duper motard rider at that. And Doug Henry is showing quite well here at the Orange Crush GNCC. More riders checking in there. Once again, the number 10, Robbie Jinks, making the switch from the Yamaha to the KTM. He's one of the KTM-supported team members now, and that's going to be making him feel pretty good here in the 2005 season. Fast Freddie Andrews in a battle all of his own as he tries to work his way through this first lap of racing. And just outside the top 10, the number 6 of Scott Summers as he makes his way around, and one of our Throttlehead.com Team Green Kawasaki riders also. Actually, a couple of them. I believe that was both Hatch and the number 9 of Cole Calkins. Actually, that was Team Green rider number 11, Chucky Woodford, and FMF Throttlehead.com rider Cole Calkins. There's Garahan after the massive spill in the Gator Pit. He's still on 2 wheels. That's the important thing. I'm sure it knocked a lot of wind out of his sails, and maybe a little bit on the embarrassing side, especially in a very high spectator area like that. It's got to be somewhat embarrassing, but you know, when you're taking a risk and taking a chance, sometimes those types of things happen. So nothing gained, nothing lost, or if there's nothing lost, sometimes there's nothing gained. However the old saying goes, doesn't matter. More of our riders checking in. This is some of our actual B riders making their way in, and U-Haul checking in at the finish line region there at the end of lap number 1. And let's head down to Jason Wygant.
1 lap down here at the Orange Crush. No surprise. U-Haul Salmon pulling away again. But the big surprise is who's chasing him. Doug Henry, a master of racing sand and motocross, and he's adapting pretty well to GNCC. The question is, can Henry hang on for 3 hours? That's about 10 times longer than the average motocross race. So we'll see if Henry can hang on. But right now it's a shootout between a sand specialist from Europe and the visitor from the United States Motocross Series.
Lap number 2 now, mile marker number 1, and U-Haul Salmonen, the 10-time world champion, is out front. We had an opportunity to talk with U-Haul earlier this morning.
We're here with U-Haul Salmonen, winner of the Lone Star GNCC, our series opener down in Texas, and of course we're in Florida now, U-Haul, and we're no longer with the rocks and hills in Texas. Tell us a little bit about how you plan to attack this sand and whoops.
Yeah, the situation is really different as it was in Texas now. In Texas we have really hard back and loose stones, and here we have go completely opposite way. We have really soft sand and some roots, and you know it's completely different, but it's different for everyone. So as me also. So I gonna do my race as I do in Texas, and I do my best, let's say.
In the races we've seen you race, you like to get out and sprint early. Do you think that fatigue may set in the sand here today?
I don't know. Of course, I try to get first good start. That's the point. What you have to take first, and let's see what happens. You know, you can't do any plans before the race. You have to see how is the situation and how is your start and what you can do actually. But of course, if I get good start, then I try to make my own speed and try to make gap already after start. But you know, it doesn't work so often. It sometimes works, sometimes not. So you have to make your strategy, you know, during the race.
Doug Henry back in the number 2 spot now, aboard the number 118 as he lays chase to that rider number 111, U-Haul Salmonen now. Back in the number 3 spot, that is the number 20 of Michael Lafferty. And the hard-charging Barry Hawk in 4th place aboard that number 3 machine. Looks like we've got a race for that number 3 position there as our riders now head into the auxiliary pro pits. There's the 124 Shane Watts in 6th place now, the number 2 of Jason Rains as he seems to be fading instead of working his way toward the front of the pack. Again, started out in about 2nd place after about 3 miles of racing, but has slowly but surely faded back. Back in 7th place, 2nd place finisher in Texas. That's Glenn Kearney, the Australian, and the Australian seems to be mastering the sands of Florida somewhat, but not quite as well as what he had mastered, the rocks of Texas. There's fast Freddie Andrews now. Freddie seemed to be fading back. He's about a 9th place position now. Still holding on to a top 10 in 10th place. There's Cole Cockins aboard the number 9 machine. In 11th place, I believe that was Brian Garahan there aboard the number 12 machine. And tough break for him at the Gator Pit, but he's back on the gas. Now we're into the Pro Pit section. This is near mile marker number 3 now, and U-Haul doing a quick check over his shoulder to check the situation behind him. Not much of anything going on there as the 118 of Doug Henry is his closest competitor, and he's got several seconds over Henry right now. It looks like Henry may be opening up quite a bit of a lead, believe it or not, over 3rd place, Michael Lafferty, the number 20. The real race for this particular race right now seems to be for 3rd place, as Lafferty has only a slight lead over former GNCC champion Barry Hawk, the number 3 AmPro Yamaha rider, currently running 4th. There's 5th, the number 124 again of Shane Watts. Jason Raines, the number 2, back in 6th. May be able to learn a thing or two from Watsy and might be able to utilize that here in the sand. Watsy, obviously a very fast sand rider. There's the 114 Australian of Kearney back in the 8th place position. A lot of folks think that Australians are good sand riders, but in talking to Glenn Kearney, he'll tell you a little different about himself. He hasn't raced a lot of sand. A lot of hard pack is what he's normally used to, even being from Australia. Behind him, and that's the number 10 machine of Robbie Jinks, as we check into lap number 2, mile marker number 3 now. And this is the race for the lead. U-Haul Salmon out front. The 118 now at the road is Doug Henry back in 3rd. It looks like the gap is starting to close a little bit, but a good reason why. Barry Hawk is pushing Michael Lafferty right now. Lafferty in 3rd. Hawk in the number 4 spot as he crosses the road. And back in 5th spot, still a hard-charging 124 of Shane Watts. Not as finesseful as what he would like to be, I'm sure, but still getting the job done. Top 5 ride. There's Raines in 6th and 7th now. Glenn Kearney aboard the number 114 machine. Though he may not have ridden a lot of sand in Australia, he seems to be mastering the sands of Florida somewhat, as he is running 6th. In 7th place, the number 10 of Robbie Jinks, as we've had some changes taking place. Picking things back up at mile marker number 7 here on lap number 2 now. The 111 of U-Haul Salmon continuing to master the sands of Florida. I'm sure a lot of GNCC riders are scratching their head, not only for U-Haul Salmon, but for this guy right here, who after 2 laps is running into in the 2nd place position, nearly 2 laps of racing anyway, at the 7-mile marker. So a lot of respect has got to be gained by Doug Henry with these off-road racers today. As still Lafferty and Hawk battle it out for the number 3 spot. Check this out, 5th place rider number 124, Shane Watts, is closing that gap on that battle for 3rd. It could be a 3-way battle for 3rd place before long. Fading back a little bit, back in the 6th place position is Jason Raines, the number 2 machine, whom we expected to come into this pretty healthy, but the sands of Florida and the whoops and the rough conditions could be taking their toll. 7th place rider Glenn Kearney once again aboard the number 114 machine. A little bit of a gap there as we check into the Yamaha Gator Pit once again, the spectator place on the race course, and Salmon easing his way through once again. Is Henry going to triple up? Yes, he will! Much to the delight of the fans there at the Yamaha Spectator Pit. And look at this. Is this the 124 of Watts now into the number 3 spot? It looks like Shane Watts has moved into the number 3 spot, getting around both Mike Lafferty and the number 3 of Barry Hawk. Hawk has dropped back into a 6th place position now. Up front now, as looks like we may be nearing the end of lap number 2. That is U-Haul Salmon with the lead, and with the last couple of turns for the finish line checkpoint region, U-Haul has got an astounding lead after 2 laps of racing. His closest competitor, a motocross racer, a retired motocross racer, believe it or not, in Doug Henry. And also back in 3rd place, a phenomenal ride by this guy so far, the 124 of Shane Watts. Wattsy is possibly in a podium position after 2 laps of racing. He's got a couple more laps to go here, but if he can hold on to that position, and I can believe that Shane Watts can do that, he will get his first podium in quite some time, and the first podium of 2005. Looks like Robbie Jinks having troubles negotiating that final turn before the finish line checkpoint region, as a lot of our riders are slowing down. We've seen Shane Watts slow down there. Even Yuha and Doug Henry having a little bit of problem. Chucky Woodford having to come to a complete stop, and you can see a rut is starting to develop there. A major rut is starting to develop there just before the finish line region, and that could be a factor in today's race if a rider would happen to choose that later in the race. Check it out, lap number 3. We're between the 1 and 2 mile marker somewhere. I would say that probably about the 1.5, and still Yuha, Doug Henry in second. And look at this, in the pits now, Juha Salminen is in for a pit, an early gas stop. Not so early, that's lap number 3, so quite possibly it could be a scheduled stop for him. But that may have opened the door for Doug Henry to take over the lead. Back in third place, the 124 of Watts, and challenging now and looking back at the KTM pits to see if he needed to stop at his, or take a look, second look I guess you could say, at his pit board, was Michael Lafferty. But a battle now for the number 3 spot between Lafferty and our third place holder, number 124, Shane Watts. Again, the big surprise here, the 118 of Doug Henry.
We're here at one of the more difficult places on the racetrack called Twin Peaks, and with me is Fred Andrews and our Pro Rider Tip of the Week. Fred, we just watched you tackle this section of the racetrack. Tell us how you did it.
Well, there's a nice jump at the beginning of it, and I gassed my RMZ 450 off that jump, and I landed just a little bit before the water hole because there's a little water hole there, and I'm going to want to give it some gas to wheelie over that water hole, but not too much gas, because at the end of that little straight right there's this really steep uphill, and I don't want to front wheel first into that uphill, so I gas it just a little bit enough to get over the water hole. When I get to the hill, I compress my body, and I gas my RMZ 450 up that hill, lift it up, and when I get to the top, I just full throttle and throw sand in their eyes. And that's your Suzuki Pro Rider Tip of the Week.
Pit stop's a big part of this game. Surprisingly enough, the rider playing it best is a rider with no experience stopping for gas. It's Doug Henry getting good mileage on that Honda 450 four-stroke. He didn't stop for gas. Juha Salminen did. So now Doug Henry is out front in the first GNCC of his career.
Other riders checking in the pits now. That's Shane Watts. You see him rounding the corner there, getting some encouragement from some fans out there. It's been a while since we've seen Wattsy on top, but I'm sure a lot of folks are definitely excited about that as Watts stops in for gas now. Getting him a drink of water as well. And Watts is looking almost like true Wattsy form. We'll see if he can continue to hold on to things there, as he will lose position there on Michael Lafferty, it looks like. So he'll drop back to 4th, and he's got his work cut out for him. As we look back, it looks like the number 2 of Jason Raines is going to be pulling in for a pit stop now as well. And Raines not doing nearly as well as what he had anticipated or even hoped to do here in Florida. He said that the shoulder was feeling strong, and he felt like he was ready to get back into the race, but maybe the terrain is taking its toll on the recent surgery there. And more riders checking in through those pro pit sections now, as we see our teams all gathered out to give all the information to their riders as they go by. Go faster, 12 seconds down. Drink of water, gas next lap, and gas this lap for Chucky Woodford, the Team Green Kawasaki rider, number 11, and the FMFthrottlehead.com Team Green Kawasaki rider, Cole Calkins, also checks in here on lap number 3 for a gas stop. Chucky Woodford will get out and actually right back in front of the number 9 of Cole Calkins where he was, but a quicker pit stop for Cole Calkins will close that gap, and those two Kawasaki riders are going at it now. Looks like the 115 of Kurt Casillas, a works rider, checking in the pits also, but back out here on lap number 3, mile marker number 3. That is Juha Salminen getting into some lap traffic already, and this could change the face of this race today as more and more lap traffic these riders are starting to encounter. Wattsy making his way by. There's the 118 of Doug Henry. It looks like maybe, I believe that was, if that was Wattsy that got by.
18 is passed on his way to.
So if Wattsy was running second, we'll have to check in with that to make sure. That might have been a mislook on my part, but there's the 111 of Juha Salminen still out front. Let's see if we can find the rest of these riders. Here comes second place rider. Yeah, that is the 124 of Shane Watts. Wattsy is running in the number 2 spot as we look back to third, and that is the number 20 now of Michael Lafferty. Lafferty gaining some spots there. Up to 4th place, the number 3 of Barry Hawk. Big changes taking place here is between mile marker number 2 and mile marker number 3 as Hawk is doing better, Range is doing better, they're all doing better. Oh, wait a minute, there's the 118 machine. He is out front. He actually snuck by us there a few moments ago. He is your leader, Doug Henry, the leader of the Orange Trust GNCC here on lap number 3, has gotten around Juha Salminen, the number 111, a 10-time World Enduro champion and a one-time one-race champion, I guess you could say, a Lone Star GNCC champion of the 111 of Juha Salminen, and he is putting it to the off-road racer, a motocrosser. This doesn't happen very often, and again, the quick question pops up in a lot of folks' mind. Can Doug Henry hang on for 3 hours in a GNCC race? He's more adapted to 45-minute motos or 30-minute motos plus a couple of laps, so about 45 minutes is what he's used to running, but obviously, he's ran more than 45 minutes at this point and still running strong. How much gas does Henry have? Getting cheers from the Team Green Kawasaki riders as he makes his way here on lap number 3. He's getting a lot of applause all the way around the racetrack. I think a lot of folks are just excited to see Doug Henry out there, not only out there, but out there and winning. And Juha Salminen, I'm sure, is excited to see him out there, but is not so excited to see him winning. Looks like a change back at that number 3 spot now as the number 20 of Michael Lafferty has regained that position once more. Looking back for 4th place, is it Hawk? Yes, Hawk continues to hang on to that number 4 spot as these guys have been jockeying for position back and forth quite a bit. Back at the Yamaha Gator Pit, will Henry triple again? Yes, he does. He keeps it low to the ground, but he gets all 3 of them in one foul swoop, and that's got to be a big time gainer for our riders out there, taking off several seconds. Let's see if Juha will go for it. Nope, not this time. As you can see, about 5 seconds could possibly be lost through that section of the race course. Here comes 3rd place rider number 124 as we reassess our top 5 riders at the Yamaha Gator Pit. Shane Watts will utilize the slow method through there, slow and steady as she goes, as he checks out the Yamaha Gator Pit. Lap traffic checking out the Gator Pit. Here comes 4th place rider number 20, Michael Lafferty, and he is in the heart of the lap traffic. He's not going to be, downed rider, almost actually takes Lafferty off the race course, but he's able to stay on it and stay competitive in that number 4 spot. As we check back into the woods at mile marker number 11, we're getting closer and closer now to the finish of lap number 3. It is Doug Henry out front, Juha Salminen running in the number 2 spot. And again, the 124 of Shane Watts back in that number 3 spot. You see Salminen checking in there again. That's mile marker number 11, or near the 11 mile marker. Michael Lafferty up to 3rd place. Now what happened to Shane Watts? Did we miss him going by there a moment ago? But Michael Lafferty running a very strong race now aboard the number 20 machine. Barry Hawk right behind him. Well, not right behind him, but still giving him a run for his money. There's Jason Raines. Raines trying to keep him as honest as he can from just outside the top 5 now in his Ampro Yamaha number 2. There's Glenn Kearney, number 114 Australian, making his way through the sand. And again, he's not the sand rider that a lot of folks think that the Australians are. He says that he dealt mainly with hard pack surfaces on his motocross endeavors. There's Henry there, now nearing the completion of lap number 3 now. No 2-lap card, no white flag, so he's still got a ways to go. At least 3 laps of racing still to go there for Doug Henry, and you got to wonder again, the question remains, is his endurance going to hold up, and can he fend off the advancements of that rider right there, number 111, Juha Salminen. There is 3rd place rider number 124, Shane Watts. He does hold on to that number 3 spot, so that means that Lafferty is 4th. And back in 5th is the number 3 of Barry Hawk. 6th place was Jason Raines aboard the number 2. As these riders now wrap up lap number 3, getting ready to head into lap number 4. Speaking of lap number 4, let's head into lap number 4, and our leader checking in with Henry once again. This is the 1 mile marker as the riders make their way into the pro pit section. About a 15-second lead over the 111 of Juha Salminen. Salminen will not pit here on lap number 4. And I'm sure that with those quick no-fill or no-spill gas tanks that they've got, that they're not too worried about the fuel consumption and fuel waste out there. But I'm sure that the deep sands of Florida, they are using a little more fuel than under normal circumstances. Watsy making his way through the pits. Now we check back to 4th. Check out the gap that is opened up now between 3rd and 4th. Shane Watts has put some major distance between himself and the number 20 of Lafferty. Lafferty in for a pit stop. He'll get new goggles. And is he going to go for a drink? Looks like he may also go for a drink and fire it back up. And he's back into the race. Michael Lafferty losing quite a bit of time there. And quite possibly Barry Hawk got around there for the number 4 ride, but that still means that Jason Raines runs back in 6th, 7th place at 114 of Glenn Kearney. Kearney holding steady there in that 7th place position all day. 8th place, the number 10 of Robbie Jinks from the KTM team, and he will pull into the pits now for a quick splash of gas and a new set of goggles also, as his pit crew also looks like maybe that was just the cleanup man on the quick fill gas tank. He actually popped the cap back on that, and that's the 115 of Kirk Caselli.
I'm here with Ron Heeman, the team manager of Team KTM. So tell me, how's the team doing?
Actually, today's going really good. All of our guys are running up front. You know, Juha's got a great battle going on with Doug Henry, and Shane Watts and Mike Lafferty are running up front. Robbie Jenks and Caselli are battling for that 5th and 6th position. So, you know, it's really still anyone's race. We've got a lot of racing left, so it's gonna be a great KTM day.
So are you guys gonna pit again towards the end of the race?
Well, actually, we're gonna have to look at that. You know, this sand really kind of plays havoc on us to determine if we need the fuel, if we don't need the fuel. There's the advantage of 2 strokes, 4 strokes out there with the fuel economy, and you know, we think we're gonna be able to make it. And it kind of comes down is that, you know, we know Doug Henry's only riding this one race. Juha Salomon's in this for the whole championship, and we got to look at what's important for the championship. And in that case, if we got to maybe give it up today, and if it looks like we can go for the win, we're going to go for the win. A win's a win, and that's what we're here to do.
Lap number 4 near the road crossing, near mile marker number 3, the 118 of Doug Henry, the motocrosser, being pushed now by the points leader in the GNCC Finland's own Juha Salminen. There's still Shane Watts, the 124 in 3rd, but the big story is what's going on up front with Juha Salminen and Doug Henry, the 118, that they're in 4th place, the number 20 of Michael Lafferty, and in the 5th spot, still the number 3 of Barry Hawk there at mile marker number 3 to round out the top 5. Back in 6th, the number 2 of Jason Raines. 7th place. Let's see if that 7th place not far behind. That was Kearney not too long ago. There it is, still Kearney aboard the number 114, the Australian, who finished 2nd, running 7th right now in this race at the Orange Crush GNCC. Doug Henry getting instructions to go straight ahead instead of losing the time, because Juha would have obviously gone the straight route and would have closed up valuable seconds. And we can see that he is hot on the back wheel of Doug Henry now. Let's check in with Jason Wygant to find out what's going on.
We're just past the halfway mark, and Doug Henry, the motocrosser, is out front. He's never raced for 3 hours before, so endurance, completely unknown factor, but he's the only one in the track that can run with Juha Salminen. They left the pits side by side, while the rest of the field, they're playing catch-up one more time.
We're here with KTM race technician Alan Rant and our KTM product spotlight. Alan, what are we taking a look at this week?
We're taking a look at a quick dump can fuel system that we use in GNCC racing. It'll deliver the fuel into the gas tank in about 3 to 5 seconds. It has this receiver here that doesn't have a screw cap on it like a traditional gas tank does. As he inserts it in there, it'll fill it very rapidly. It's very similar to what the NASCAR people use, and it works very well here in GNCC racing also.
And that's this week's KTM product spotlight.
Picking the action up now at mile marker number 7, Doug Henry continuing to lead Juha Salminen, the number 111 machine. And again, the former motocrosser, the only rider able to ride with U-Haul today. And this guy right here, third fastest out there, is the 124. Shane Watts 5 years ago was the man to beat, but injury plaguing him year after year since that 2000 championship season, and he's had a long road to hoe and a long road of recovery, trying to make his way back to the top of the ranks here in the GNCC. Michael Lafferty still keeping him honest. There's Jason Raines. There's the 114 of Glenn Kearney. This is going to be a heated battle now for the number 6 spot, as it looks like Kearney may be closing in. And check out the high-speed action here as the 118 of Doug Henry continues to lead the 111. You got to wonder if maybe U-Haul is waiting for Doug Henry to wear himself out. And I'm sure that he's probably thinking that it would have been done by now, especially this late in the race, nearing the end of lap number 4, approaching the finish line region and the start of lap number 5 and what could be the 2-lap board with just 2 laps to go, which is again going to change the face of this race. And there with Barry Hawk. Hawk has dropped way back there, it looks like. He's no longer running in that 5th place position. That moves Raines up to 5th and Glenn Kearney up to 6th. There's Henry once again. He triples up. But U-Haul, again, he likes to go single, single, single. Let's see what the 124 of Shane Watts is going to do. The encouragement is to go, go, go. But Wattsy knows better than to try something that may be something a little more than he wants to do, especially after coming back from the injuries that he's coming back from right now. He is not wanting to do anything off the wall. There's the number 3 of Barry Hawk, able to gain back a couple of positions there over the course of the last 3 miles of racing between mile marker number 7 and that mile marker number 10, or the 10.5, where, of course, the Gator Pit is located. And to me, it looks like that Barry has been playing his own seesaw battle back there and trying to keep up with the top 5. He fell back to about an 8th place position, maybe 7th place, worked his way back up to the number 5 spot. At the finish line region now, Wattsy taking no 2-lap board, no white flag, at least 3 laps to go. This is going to be a long 3-hour race. As we check in with our leader now on lap number 5, I believe this is at the 1 mile marker. Yeah, as we head into the pits, and U-Haul back in for another pit stop. Seems like these pit stops are coming a little closer together than originally anticipated. Quite possibly fuel mileage not quite what the KTM folks were looking for. They'll send him back out. Valuable time lost there. You got to wonder whether or not Doug Henry is going to do any pitting himself, possibly this time around. He's got the big tank on there, and he is going to pit. He is going to get a splash of gas now, and also a drink of water from the former national motocross champion Doug Henry. New goggles, gloves, nope, no gloves, just a splash of water, some goggles, and a splash of gas. And Doug Henry seems to be in no hurry, as here comes U-Haul Salminen now. 2nd place rider. No, there goes Henry. Henry gets on the gas now. Henry sees the 111 of U-Haul Salminen closing in hard and fast. He knew that he had pitted, thought he might have a little more time than what he did. That's what happens when you're new to GNCC. Things don't happen quite the way you expect them to, and they happen a little faster than what you anticipate. There's Wattsy still back in the number 3 spot, but it looks like that Doug Henry is adapting quite well to the GNCC racing action as he continues to hold on to the lead here. U-Haul Salminen, again, the only rider giving him a run for his money, or should I say that Doug Henry, the only rider giving U-Haul Salminen a run for his money. So we check into the pits once again. There's Watson, his wife there. That lady you see in the white shirt is actually his wife, recently married, and looks like Wattsy is becoming more and more Americanized after 5 years here in the States. He gets a quick drink of water, some gas, and off and rolling goes Wattsy. And here comes the KTM number 20 of Michael Lafferty. And Lafferty getting the pit board to go, 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 as he currently holds on to 4th place. Barry Hawk still in that number 5 spot. But the gap is starting to open up between 4th and 5th place. Lafferty's got a little bit of breathing room back there, it appears. As we check out pit row once again, and this is some of our afternoon amateur A and B riders that race out on the race course with our pro riders. And a look at the Yamaha Pro Pits. We may be seeing a pro pit stop by one of our Yamaha riders. It looks like Barry Hawk's already gone through, so Jason Raines, the only other rider out there. There goes the number 20 of Lafferty now, as he is checking through the pits right now. But again, Jason Raines could be the rider that we're looking at in the pro pit section, unless Barry Hawk needs to stop, and doesn't appear that that's the case, as he gets the board to go and to keep going and going and keep going. He does, as Barry Hawk is trying to reel in that fourth place rider, number 20, Michael Lafferty, and he's still got a ways to go, as we are in lap number 5. And in the pits, there's our Yamaha rider that's pitting, Jason Raines. He's going to change those goggles, and he's going to, well, he's going to do more and change the goggles. Looks like Raines is actually out of the race. He's taking himself out of the race. Maybe the shoulder injury's more than we thought.
Jason Raines out of this race. What happened, man?
I just, my bike was working really good. And I just couldn't hang on. My shoulder I thought would be better, but I got to the last, this last lap, and it just couldn't. My whole arm died. Just couldn't hold on. It sucks riding hurt.
That it does. Jason Raines, very disappointed, you can tell, but this guy right here, not a bit disappointed, as he's got the lead over the entire off-road world right now. Here in Florida, Doug Henry is the man to beat. A motocrosser, ladies and gentlemen, the man to beat. Gas good, is that a statement or a question that they're holding out there for the 115? Oh, the 118, I'm sorry, of Doug Henry. I guess it's anybody's game. These guys not familiar with GNCC strategy, so they're probably, it is a question statement question. But Barry Hawk gets cheers from the crowd. It looks like there's still lots of folks that love Barry Hawk. He is an 8-time GNCC champion, 7 on the ATVs and 1 on a motorcycle back in 2003. Going for a second there in 2004. Had the face injury, took him out of a couple of races. But the important thing is Barry ended the year on fire last year, winning 3 of the last 4 races in hopes of winning the championship back here in 2005. But that man that just passed a few moments ago, the 111 of U-Haul Aluminum, is going to be the major force to be factored into the 2005 Suzuki Grand National Cross Country Championship Series points race, as he is obviously showing he knows how to ride off-road and he knows how to ride GNCC, because here in the second race of the season already we were saying that, hey, he should be tiring, he should be fading. That's the way the Europeans always do, but not this time. Lap number 5, mile marker number 7 on the 118 of Doug Henry continues to dominate the field here at the Florida Orange Crush GNCC. There's the 111 of U-Haul Salmon trying to close in on the 115 or 118 machine, and trying to close in on him is the 124, a former GNCC champion again, Shane Watts, in that number 3 spot. The number 20, 6-time AMA National Hare Scrambles champion, Michael Lafferty, coming off of a season of injuries, opening up very strong, running with Salmon earlier this morning, and also running with him all day in Texas. This guy right here would love to be running with the guys right now, but just cannot seem to get it done, as he DNF'd round number 1 and is running not so favorable position here. A 5th place position, nothing to sneeze at, especially in the Florida sand, but if I know Barry Hawk, I know he is very disappointed with this position on the racetrack right now. Back out at the Yamaha Gator Pit. We were at the 7-mile marker a few moments ago. We're now at the 10.5-mile marker, and working even farther ahead than that right now with our lead riders, and looks like the Yamaha Rhino Cam now. And our lead riders making their way through that, weaving in and out of that section of the race course. Again, we would not be able to keep up with them with the Rhino Cam if they were not doing all that weaving, but it gives us an opportunity to see just exactly what kind of speed that our riders are carrying here at the Orange Crush GNCC. And speaking of speed, speeding his way around to the finish line region now is the number 111 of U-Haul Salmon, And I'm not sure, but I think that Salmon may have taken over the lead there and is the new leader of the Florida Orange Crush GNCC. Nope, there's Shane Watts, the 124. He's third place, and I'm sure that, of course, the 118 of Doug Henry did not go that far back. Had he, we would have heard, I'm sure, reports well before this, back behind the number 20 of Lafferty was the number 3 of Barry Hawk, and there he is now finishing up this fifth lap as he'll be taking the 2-lap board, a 7-lap race in all total. And whoa, wait a minute, it looks like Barry Hawk did get around the number 20 of Michael Lafferty. Lafferty suffering some sort of problem there in the last few miles of racing as we see him now back in a number 5 spot himself as Barry Hawk has taken over the number 4 position. So these guys have got a great battle going on there. There's the battle for the number 1 spot. U-Haul Salmon is out front. Doug Henry running in the number 2 spot. So we did have some changes.
Mike, showing your experience or maybe inexperience, gassing them up. You're not going to do 2 stops. You're just going to try to make it all the way to the end.
We're going to try to go all the way. They say we're going to do 7 laps, so if we got to bring them in on, if they're going to decide to go one more, we're going to bring them in, but we're going to try to go all the way. You have plenty of gas left, it looked like, so, you know, we'll see what happens, but all looks good, so.
What about Doug physically? Is he running out of gas?
I don't think so. No, I hear he's doing a triple. I'd love to go down and see it, but, you know, I don't have time for it, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like he's going right along. Typical Doug Henry.
Right on, man. We're glad he's here.
Right on.
Well, that's Doug Henry's friend slash mechanic slash friend. I think it's a friend, not much of a mechanic from what I've been told. Just a couple of buddies coming to the races together. He's trying to help out Doug as much as possible. Don't look like Doug needs much help. Just a drink of water and maybe a splash of gas occasionally. Watty, speaking of a splash of gas and some new goggles, is back in the pits one more time. Amazing that Watts is having to fill up, but of course I believe he is running about a 125cc machine, which would definitely make him have to work a little bit harder than the rest of these guys out there on the race course. As we check back in with some of those leaders. Or actually, is that a leader? No, it's one of our leaders, but he's falling short somewhat as Michael Lafferty is back in for another splash of gas himself. Is he going to get the new goggles this time? A shake of the head. He says no, he doesn't want the new goggles, so he doesn't get new goggles, but he does take the gas. Amazing. With 2 laps to go, well, less than 2 laps to go now. These riders' strategy to fill up so they don't have to do it on the white flag lap. There's Lafferty making his way out of the pro pits into the auxiliary pro pits, where we see some of those pro riders like Doug Henry and Shane Watts and those guys pitting out of here this afternoon. There's Barry Hawk. Barry Hawk has dropped off the pace, it looks like. He was out in front of Michael Lafferty just a few short miles ago, actually at the finish line region, so within the last mile or so, Barry Hawk encountered some sort of a problem, and Barry Hawk has dropped back off to 5th place, and Michael Lafferty is in that number 4 position. Lap number 6 now, white flag lap, mile marker number 3. Still Henry, Salmonen trying to close in. 124, Shane Watts still in the number 3 spot. That's been the story told all day long here today in the sands of Florida. And those whoops that those riders were talking about all day long are there. At the end of 6 laps, look how deep the whoops are getting. Our riders actually riding around them. Barry Hawk electing to ride around instead of trying to ride through. As you can see, looks like Barry Hawk is getting slammed around quite a bit. That suspension sounded a little funny, like it was taking a beating there at mile marker number 3 for Barry Hawk. As we continue along here, lap number 6, mile marker number 7 now. Shane Watts still in that number 3 position. As we check back into that number 4 spot, still Michael Lafferty, the number 20, holding on to the number 4 spot. He's been back and forth. Oh, a little miscue there almost by Michael Lafferty, almost cross-rutted that and washed out, but he was able to hang on to it and motor his way on through and stay strong here at the Orange Crush GNCC. As we look at lap number 6 now in the Twin Peaks region, looks like riders are scattered everywhere, and can't tell if a pass was made there or not, but back a little further, Barry Hawk still trying to work his way through that Mile marker number 7 out at the Gator Pit now, the Yamaha Gator Pit, the famous spectator point here at the Orange Crush GNCC. Doug Henry tripling once again, and Juha Salminen will elect once again to roll the whole section instead of trying to actually jump through the section and triple through the section like Doug Henry, the motocrosser, has been doing. There's the 124 again rolling through. The number 20 rolling through Watts, and of course the number 20 again, that is none other than Michael Lafferty. And there's the 115 machine of Kurt Caselli as he has gotten around Barry Hawk, it looks like, for that number 5 spot. That'll drop Barry Hawk off to a number 6 position, and Barry seems to be running at a much slower pace than what he was earlier on. Maybe the conditions are starting to take their toll on the former GNCC champ Barry Hawk. A couple of riders not having those conditions take their toll on them. The 111 of Juha Salminen still trying to chase down Doug Henry, the number 115 machine, as he nears the completion of yet another lap. This is the end of lap number 6, heading into lap number 7 with a white flag, and I'm sure that Doug Henry is glad to see that. It's been 2.5 hours of racing like this. He's used to 45-minute motos. Can he last one more lap with the likes of that guy right there, the 111, and that guy right there, the 124 of Shane Watts behind him? Off-road legends themselves going up against a motocross legend out of his element. He is in their element. Can they strike here in this last lap of racing and show that the off-road riders are the fastest in the sands of Florida? There's the 20 of Lafferty still holding steadily in 4th. Got to wonder, did Hawk regain that position back away from? No, he didn't. The 115 machine of Kurt Caselli once again rounds out the top 5 as he has gotten around Barry Hawk. Lap number 7 now. Let's head on up to about mile marker number 5 and check out the speed in that whoop field, the curved whoop field that Doug Henry is making his way through right now. Here comes Juha Salminen. Again, you can see that this track is taking a beating and is actually giving one right back to the riders. Heard some riders say yesterday after practice that the Florida sand might have beat him into shape, but we'll just have to wait and see if that's the case here today. Let's see if Henry's going to pit here on the last lap. He does pit on the last lap. He's going to get a drink of water, rather untraditional strategy, but he's not your traditional GNCC racer. He's in the pits. Juha Salminen having to pit also. Second place rider checking into the pit, so both of our leaders having to pit. A big break for Doug Henry that Juha also had to pit here on the last lap. And check this out. He's getting him a big, long, healthy drink of water and also a big, healthy splash of gas there as he pulls back out. And this time it's not nearly as tight. Juha's back there, but not nearly as close as he was last time around when he pulled out of the pits with him hot on his rear wheel. So not nearly as much work to put some distance between himself and Juha here in this last lap. But again, last lap, you got to wonder if Juha is going to wick it up now and try to challenge Doug Henry for the number 1 spot. There again is the 124 of Watts. Is he going to stop? He stopped 2 laps in a row. Is he going to stop for a 3rd lap in a row? Let's check and see here as he comes to a near complete stop in a big, deep rut and a near stop. He slows down to grab a drink of water. Obviously, the Florida sunshine and heat is starting to take its toll on Wattsy.
Well, this is it. Doug Henry has such a big lead, they decided to stop anyway. He's got extra gas. The big question is endurance. It doesn't look like it's a problem. Such a fast learner, it almost appears like Doug Henry waited behind Juha Salminen until late in the race, and now he's flooring it. It's still anyone's race, but Doug Henry looks like he's going to have what it takes to get it done.
Lap 7, our final lap, mile marker number 3, and Doug Henry continues to hold on to the lead. Juha Salminen trying to close that gap as more lap traffic becoming a factor. Again, check out the track conditions from earlier this morning here at this particular section of the race course. You can see that these riders are actually doubling through these sections. There was a little wheel stutter there, lap 2 and lap 3, but here on lap number 7, they're actually doubling through sections of this race course where there were not jumps before. Amazing action there with the 118 of Doug Henry out front now at the 7-mile marker as he heads into some tighter woods. Juha Salminen down now about 10 seconds. It looked like Juha was actually closing the gap there at that one point, but it seems like after that pit stop, somewhere between there and the 7-mile marker, Doug Henry wicks it up and says, bye-bye, see ya, would not want to be ya. And he's done that lap after lap after lap consistently. And now the question of whether or not fatigue is starting to set in. You watch that number 118 ride. He is still riding as fast as he did on lap number 1, it looks like. And Doug Henry does not appear to be tiring whatsoever. If he is, it is obviously not showing. The Gator Pit one last time to the cheers of the fans. Let's listen in. And you could tell that they're very pleased with seeing Doug Henry there and seeing someone actually triple that. Is Juha going to try to make up time this time around? No, he does not. Once again, has to roll it. Juha trying to play the smart game. He realizes that Doug Henry is only here for one race, or expecting only one race for Doug Henry to be at. And if that's the case, he's not a factor in the championship points race, so he's probably not going to set much of a challenge for it unless the opportunity arises, and it looks like it may be starting to arise. Let's check out the deficit now as the 118 machine is now heading home to the checker flag with the cheers of the crowd here in sunny Florida. A huge crowd at the finish line, and Doug Henry has won. Yes, you heard me. Doug Henry has won the Moose Racing Orange Crust GNCC. What a feat. Congratulations from Juha. Juha, I'm sure, is astonished himself. Doug Henry is getting off of the bike and going to take a sit down and a breather, if you will.
Doug Henry, you have anything left? Do you have anything left?
Way to go, Doug!
You got anything left, Doug? All right.
All right. Good job, Doug. You can rest now.
One on your face?
Right now, I'm sure 20% about his competitor roll up.
Juha, awesome race, awesome battle with Doug Henry. Take us through it late in the game. You had him in your sights, just couldn't quite get him.
Yeah, I do my best. Doug was really fast, and you know, I thought that he was get tired before, but looks like he was okay. I don't know, looks like, but when he ride, he was okay. Yeah.
What about you? Did you leave anything else out there? Do you have more energy? Do you wish you had pushed a little farther?
Yeah, actually in the last lap, I didn't really race anymore. I just tried to finish the race and save some energy for the next weekend. But anyway, it was my mistake. Dog crashed there and almost in the last corner. I should drive a little bit faster. I have a chance to pass him, but I didn't. Sorry.
See you at the podium.
See ya.
Very hard sport. You're very good, boy. Oh. Yeah, you too. Yeah. That last lap, I never would have made another lap.
Save some for our crowd, guys. Come on, you hold the front
Congratulations, Doug. Another drink.
All right, we await our champions here at the podium. I'm very happy Shane Watts. We're waiting for first and second to come on up. Doug Henry, if you weren't there at the finish line, so exhausted, he fell off the motorcycle as he crossed the finish line and laid there for about 3 minutes. Could not even move.
Good job, buddy.
Doug's trying to recover. You have the KTM boys are leading here in second. You're an inspiration. GNCC. Way to go. We did it about Doug Henry so many times. Good job, Doug. Thanks. This is the guy who did everything. champagne celebration, and this has got to be one of the all-time best. Cheers for Doug Henry on these guys, and let's hear for Juha Salminen. And Shane Watts taking third at the Moose Racing Orange Crush GNCC.